G'day and welcome to Lawn Care Skull Sessions, the most unprofessional podcast on the planet. I'm Ben from Catch Pro Australia. Joining me is the homie from TBL Property Maintenance. And who we got today, Beej?
Oh my God, we're in a special location today. We have the one and only Paul Shan and the one and only Ben Gripske.
Hey. Yes, and how you going, blokes?
Doing all right.
That's good.
Good,
It's
man.
a bit of it's a rectangle table of very handsome gentlemen, I must say.
Yeah, I spent hours doing my hair for today.
Me too.
Once again, I'm the smallest. I always seem to be outnumbered in these bloody round tables.
Yeah.
We're sort of on the tail end of 2023. Has it been a good year for everyone?
No.
Okay. All right. Yep.
Hey, this is what it's all about, honesty.
You know, it's no surprise that the economy's the way it is, and
Yep.
it's been pretty tough for the industry in general.
Hasn't been as lucrative as past years.
No,
right?
it hasn't. And then the weather, as you guys know, being in Queensland, it was pretty tough there a few months ago. But we've got some rain, so let's just hope that the dealers have a chance to sell some stock through, and we can start moving some product.
Catch back up.
Believe it or not, because when you guys get nervous, I get nervous, right? About the market and everything. But we actually ended up doing all right. Obviously, we don't need to meet the same, expectations as you guys. But when all the distributors and dealers start talking about like how heavy everything gets, it sort of makes me think, God, I got nothing else to fall back on.
Yeah.
Same with you, Beej,
You
right?
can come jump in with me, Betty. You can come back to mowing some lawns.
I'd like to see
If you
your,
guys have any free
canals.
days, there's plenty of lawns to be mowed. It's crazy out there though. Like we had that boost of rain, and I was like, yes, it's over. And then the last 2 or 3 days, I've just been mowing, and it's just been like dust bukkake. It's crazy.
I started mowing every twice a week at my house.
OCD.
And no, to keep it nice, right? And then, same thing the other day. I was like, geez, she's getting dry already.
Yeah.
So anyway, we are expecting a bit of rain over the next
There was
couple of days.
3 to 6 drops on my way to your place this morning, so that'll do for me.
Are you sure
No,
that was rain?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I am wearing my Hoochie Daddy shorts today, so I wore them special. Check them out, Ben. You're the only one who can see them.
Yeah, I can see a lot actually.
It's a fair bit in here.
I can see him.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's
you can see too.
I got the same shorts on, and I don't know why, but I can't see anything.
It's like squeezing 5 kilos of sugar into a 2 kilo bag down here.
I'm actually enjoying the fact that when you've come here today, you've actually got pants on. Usually when you come here, you don't.
Oh, well, I got to get helped out some way.
So everyone that's listening to this, you can jump on YouTube at the Catch Pro Australia channel and watch this episode. It's pretty cool. We're in do we call this a conference room or a boardroom?
Yeah.
Boardroom.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. This will be my first episode without having a lung buster during the skull sessions.
Yeah, it's going to be tough.
So
Did you
might be a little
double
bit nerve wracking for me.
Did you double drop before you came in?
No. Did do a dragon though, dragon puff.
Oh, did you? Yeah, I'm surprised you didn't walk in a bit dizzy, big head spin.
I reckon we should kick off today's episode with a little bit of backstory and history. Both of you guys have been on podcasts recently. Paul, you did one with our
Gary.
pod brother
Yep.
from the Aussie Lawn Stars. You've just been on the Australian Lawn and Podcast, whatever they call that, Luke Smith.
It's a big one.
On that one.
But we're going to toss it up today and do a round table, which is pretty cool. But Ben, starting off with you, pal, like what were you sort of like in your high school years, and when you were sort of thinking career-wise, was it always a given that you were going to work in the family business?
Absolutely not. Actually, in high school, I was very good at basketball.
Yep, I can.
You wouldn't-
Can you? How tall are you?
Just a little bit taller than you.
Yeah,
I'm 6'9", 207.
Oh, that's hot.
and you could dunk a basketball hoop, right?
Back then, I could.
Yes.
I actually broke my ankle this year playing basketball, so I don't know that I'll ever get to play again. But
Oh, no.
I still play.
yeah,
But I only play to just mess around. I play with like a bunch of punk kids that bloody
Every
good
time I
basketball
talk
players.
to him after he's played a game, he's like, I'm fucked. I'm too old for this.
Yeah, I got a problem with my legs, but I'm in there to sort of just play dirty. Poke people in the ribs when they're going for rebounds and trip them over and shit.
That's how he broke his ankle. Because of you.
That's exactly right. I actually
Pieces of
played
shit
in
like you.
I was playing in 2 leagues. I was playing in an old boys league,
Yep.
which I'm sure is the one that you're playing in. I was playing in men's Div 1, and in men's Div 1, they actually care if you win. And in old boys league, it's not basketball, it's bully ball.
Yeah.
And it's just who can push and shove as hard as they possibly can. And that's what happened this year. I got pushed on a layup lead in and tripped, and there's a lot of band above this ankle. And
Yeah.
and the ankle did not like it at all. So, yeah.
Oh, I was the block king. I just stood up with my arms in the air and just used to level people. It was awesome.
Last time BJ played, he pulled several muscles
It
in
was
his
a
leg.
grade 3 calf tear. I had bruising from the base of my foot all the way up into my groin.
I had a dude like you, your size, pull my whole shoulder out and it was hanging around at my back.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so. All right, so, so what? It wasn't always a lock-in that you're going to work in the family business, pal?
No, so that's a rule in the family. We're not allowed to work, any of the family members, we're not allowed to work in the business until we were older than 21.
Okay.
And we had to do something external of the lawn and garden industry, sort of that had some relevance to what we do. So I
Yeah.
did sales. I actually sold cars.
Okay.
Worked for Ford. I had the beautiful AU Falcon as my first experience of selling cars, which was rather difficult. Always was a Holden guy and started in Fords. But,
Yeah.
so I've sort of been brought up doing sales in that industry sort of thing through there. And
Do you have any siblings?
I got 2 sisters.
Yeah, and they don't work in the business?
No,
Okay,
they don't.
cool.
So 2 younger sisters, and my dad's brother has two boys as well. So when like 18 years ago when I started here, my dad's brother was also in the business,
Yep.
and he has 2 boys. One is a year older than me, and Carl is 2 years younger than me. So there is family in that. Roy Gripske and sons.
Yep.
The sons are dad and his 3 brothers.
That's right, yeah. So are any of those other family members actively or have actively worked in the business?
They all have been here
Yep.
at some point, but they're not here anymore.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And Paul, obviously, we've heard a little bit about your background in other podcasts, but was your role in PLP like your first intro to the outdoor power equipment industry, or had you sort of because most people that get into a role like yours will work their way up. It's like you sort of have kind of started at the top. Is that the case, or did you?
Yeah, so my background is in manufacturing.
Yep.
So this is really my first role where the primary function of our business isn't manufacturing, and this is my first role in the lawn and garden industry.
Okay.
I came in so Paul could retire. His plan was to retire and go and enjoy, some of the fruits of his labours over many years, and
So Paul Gripske is your old man.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Cool. Just setting the table.
yeah. So
for-
Paul Gripske is the sole shareholder of RGS now, and so he is the business owner, he wanted to retire and just enjoy some of those latter years, and he's off trying to do that now as best he can.
Yep. Does he have any involvement in the day-to-day running? Or
Yeah,
yes?
not really the day-to-day running, but he still has involvement in the business.
Sure.
He's very knowledgeable about the industry. Obviously, he's worked in this industry since 1981 when the business restarted in its current format.
Yep.
So that's 42 years. So he knows the industry very well. But look, he has really been
But
had his
you,
hands off the levers for some time, so
Yeah.
he just doesn't really see what's changed in the last sort of 5-6 years.
yep. But you've got the green light to make decisions
Yes.
that
yep.
he would normally have made in
Yep.
his past.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep, and that just needs some consultation with him.
Okay.
If they're big decisions that could really affect, where our business is going and moving forward, then yeah, definitely it needs his authorization really, and his tick of approval. But the management team here, of which myself and Ben are part of, we've got our hands on the levers every day.
So how closely do you guys work together? Do you separate the products? So you take care of like Steger and Gravely, and you take care of Bushranger and some of the other like Segway and things like that, or you all are just like, this is a big fucking table, and like I only really know a couple of you key players. So does this table just fill up when you guys are having your meetings? And
No, not really. We have quite a small management team. We don't. It's not. Although we're a large business, we don't stack the ceiling with a whole heap of guys, kingpins just sitting around doing nothing. So we're a small management team. We're across the whole business, GA and PLP.
yep.
So, for instance, Ben is the national sales manager across both divisions, and then under Ben, he has specific national managers that look after. Just one looks after GA, one looks after PLP, and under those guys, then sit all of our reps.
So Ben, you have to oversee the GA and the whole goods side.
Yeah, that's
of
right.
sales.
So pretty well look after, from an overarching point of view, 24 sales guys, like the
Yep.
sales rep. So we, in a lot of places, have 2 sales guys calling on the same shop.
Yep.
So Danny, for example, has Dean and Ross calling on him. And so we split the business through the middle at the sales, at the touch point.
Yep.
But at the upper levels, it's all joined together. So even our products team, new products, Luke, who you work with, that's combined. So you're looking after both parts of the business.
And what it means, I guess, for a company this size is that at least you're in touch of just about everything that goes on.
Yeah, so and getting across both is very important. The parts business gives us insights in one way, and the units business gives us a different level of real, I suppose, connectivity to the dealers, because this business is built for the dealers.
That's right.
We're here for the dealers. You know, we started off back in the day as a dealer, and so we really are trying to become a solution to the bigger guys, and it's giving us a reason to be in those shops.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Going back to your role then, is that just overseeing everything, or do you have a specific?
Yeah, so essentially, I oversee the business as the senior manager here, and the senior leadership team reports directly to me, and then I report to Paul as the business owner. That's the structure of our business. So, and again, like Ben is over all parts of the business, as too am I. But as you said, look, the important thing for us is to have the team across the business, because across all aspects of the business, because the dealer wants that. The dealer needs us to understand what's going on in the market, and I think you'd be quite surprised at how deep it goes for us as senior managers, down to really specific things that are going on at dealers. That's important to us. That's our ethos as a family business. That's how we've been successful over the years.
Now, in regards to product, I wrote out a list because there's a fuck ton of products. Tell me if I miss any. So we've got Bushranger, Pro Cut, Super Swift, Steger, Gravely, Spartan. You're also the dealer for Kawasaki in Australia, like the distributor. Yep. Arians, Diamond Edge, Trailblazer, Vortex, UTA, which is your Aussie Blades, and Segway.
Fuck me, you haven't
NGK,
even scratched the top, mate.
Champion, Scepter fuel cans.
I meant brands like.
Well, is that
Yeah, he's going on them.
Oh, here we go. All right.
NGK,
I can't write all these down. It took me 45 minutes just to write this well.
Yeah, it just depends on which one you want to go. And I think you've covered the PLP ones pretty closely.
Mariama's the only one you miss.
Mariama, we're just about to go into Pro Tier.
Yeah.
So,
But is
Are
Mariama...
you guys the new distributor for Protea?
yeah, we are, yeah.
Hey, is that something that can be released? Or?
We can talk about it. It's
Oh,
not here yet,
sick.
and we've just had some shipping
Don't give
delays.
BJ something to edit, guys.
Hey,
Hey,
no,
if you don't want to talk about it, don't
Starting to
say
panic. I'm like, write down the time quick. No, it's
you just proved to me that you didn't finish listening to the Luke Smith podcast.
No, I didn't. Nah,
But that's okay.
I listened to most of them, but I had to throw on some 80s. I was just telling Ben this morning, I've gotten into 80s, and I'm just dancing in front of the boys. Like, it's been the last couple of days for us. We've really been punching because I'm off on a cruise next Tuesday. So I've just been doing all the work with the boys, and I was like, I need something to get me through.
Yeah.
And I was just
So you like a virgin, yeah?
yeah. Yeah, well, my big old swinging around on a fucking ladder, 6 foot in the air.
But the thing with me, with these industry podcasts, and it's no disrespect to these other guys that are bringing them out, but like I fucking talk about the industry 24/7.
Yeah.
And, you know, sometimes the last thing that I want to do in my spare time is go and talk about it some more. And like some people, they leave us comments and they give a shit and they're like, oh, you know, go back and listen to this or, you know, something that I've said. And I was like, man, like I don't fucking, you listen, you listen to
I
these.
listen to a few because
BJ
I'm always
listen-
on the tools. And
No, but you listen to us, hey?
So yeah, for like I listen to most of our episodes. If there's an episode, like there was one where fucking Benny had like 15 deliveries, so we were like pausing. So I have to listen to the whole thing. So all the cuts meet up, and we don't sound like we're fucking.
You know,
half
whereas
cooked.
people say
So-
stuff to me, and I'm like, man, like I don't have any interest in
Yeah.
going back and watching this. So,
Yeah.
can we just take a little step back, back to sort of your early days in the business? Is there, sorry, Ben, is there like, you know, heavy expectations from your old boy, or like, you know, like, is it a difficult working relationship, you know, having to sort of fill those shoes? Well, not fill the shoes, but maybe create your own path or whatever.
It's a very interesting question.
Yep.
It is very, very challenging. It's been there's an expectation that goes with it, and it is very difficult to one not only meet, but also sitting back and if you look at what Dad has achieved,
Yep.
that's a big thing to compare to. The market's changed, the world's changed, but the business is where it is because of what he's done. So I think there's the expectation about how you perform is one thing, but an expectation to grow the business to the level that it needs to go to now is slightly different.
I understand it because it's, I don't know, one thing I've found with my business, and obviously we're still very young, but it's kind of one thing to like get momentum, but it really is something else to keep that momentum balling all the time. You know, keep it fresh, keep it rolling, like from month to month, everything that you look at, it really is, it's not that hard to sort of just, you know, get that initial momentum, but it is difficult to keep that steam rolling.
Keeping relevant as well, like being present in the industry.
But even in the mowing, like what you're doing, BJ,
Yeah.
you know, you score a mad contract and it's like, yeah, fuck yeah, rah, rah, rah. But then it becomes stale and it's like, where's me next one?
Oh,
and
yeah.
and it's not easy to just keep
you just
running
you're
downhill
always
like that.
banging for something new. You're like, come on, it's time to upgrade these jobs, or it's time to turn over this village. They're not performing. You know, it's funny saying they're not performing, but you know, there's always infighting, politics. You have to negotiate and all this other bullshit. So eventually, yeah, it does become stale. But like you guys see, like with the list of products and you know companies you guys work with, I don't think you guys got any time to fucking think about anything else but what you've got at the moment. Like,
So
but-
what I can say is that the dealers we deal with, the majority of them are really good people. So that makes it, you know, we're almost doing this because of the relationships that we have with these people. And I can list off 10 straight off the top of my head that, you know, they will do pretty much anything for us and we will do pretty much anything for them. So maintaining relevance is challenging, okay? And I completely agree with that, but we're here for those guys and they really give us the feedback on what we need to do and then we go about trying to work that out for them. And if we can get it right for those key sort of people, it sort of flows through. And, you know, that's why we're here talking to you guys in what you do as well. The relationship we have with you, what you bring to the table, LMCA, those sorts of things are, you know, you're giving us feedback and responses, which then gives us the ability to go and make, hopefully, the right decision.
yeah.
And that's what it's all about. And if we don't have those relations, it's when you care about someone, you want to, you know, you really want to do that. And I think that's where a lot of that's coming from. Keeping the brands on an individual basis relevant is like in the PLP space, and each one of those is a challenge in its own right. But that it stops it getting stagnant too. It definitely doesn't mean it doesn't hurt. Some of the changes that you go through, like the Shindawa change and things like that, you sit there and you look at some of the brands we've built to the level that we did, and to have them taken away from us for no fault of our own, that hurts to the core.
Yeah.
But it also fuels a fire in you to go and take it back, sort of thing as well. And I suppose that's what makes you wake up every morning and be happy to come in and and give it a go.
Yeah, well, we will probably circle back to some of the Shindy and some of the other brands, past brands and stuff. But just want to set the table again. When was RGS first formed?
1981.
Okay, and that was at the time a parts business, was it?
Yeah, so it's the history goes back actually further than that. So Roy Gripske, and of course the business called Roy Gripske and Sons, he in the 1950s he had a shop which was like a boat outboard shop. It was a mower shop. It was a bicycle shop.
Yep. Selling whole goods.
Selling whole goods and doing repairs.
Yep.
And he was actually Rover account number one. So Rover,
Check it out. See if you can turn that round on film. If anyone's watching on Catch Pro, we
Probably send you that.
Yeah.
we have a huge catalogue here, and we've got the initial shop front. Is it?
that's
Roy
the
in
shop
the
front
shop.
and Roy in the shop.
Yeah,
But
cool.
so he had that shop in the 50s at Redcliffe. So really, this business being based in Narangba, it started just down the road in Redcliffe.
Yeah, so it's local.
Its history comes from that whole Redcliffe Peninsula. But Roy was working with the original guys that started Rover and helping them, and he was Rover account number one. So he was the first retail account for Rover in Australia when it was a Brisbane company and was manufacturing in Brisbane.
Just quickly, just sorry to butt in, but when did Rover become no more? Do you know the history of that?
Well, MTD bought Rover.
Yes.
So, which is now SBD.
Yep. When did that happen? When did Rover? Do you know roughly when Rover?
I think it was in the 90s.
Okay,
Ben, would
yeah.
have been in the 90s.
I was here.
Yeah.
I was here because we talked
So
about it.
maybe
but it
in the
was-
early 2000s.
Yeah, I'm going to say.
Yep.
Yep.
Oh, I don't
And so
know the
Rover
actual
was
year.
they manufactured like all their mowers, everything here
Wow.
in Brisbane.
That's right. They
I
were
didn't know- I
manufacturing
didn't actually
here.
know that.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
really? No, neither did I.
I didn't know that they
2010.
manufactured in Brisbane.
2010.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
So
wow.
2010.
So it's not that long ago.
MTD purchased Rover, and obviously that manufacturing was then moved to China, and which is a shame. But that's what businesses do is they move to where the labour's cheap, and that's just how the world works.
Yep.
But yeah, so he had grown that business. In terms of retail, and in the meantime, he had sourced parts because the original OEMs at that time, who were producing rotary mowers, you're talking about these early days with the original Victors that came out with the Super Swift,
And toe cutters.
yeah, all the toe cutters, right? And Roy realised that really those manufacturers were happy to sell machines, but couldn't really support the local dealers that were starting to build in small communities around southeast Queensland with parts.
So even with the whole goods section, like were they manufacturing machines and then was it going straight then to the dealer? There was no distributor essentially. Was that?
That's right.
That was the
because
model. Okay,
they would sell straight to the dealer at that. Well, in those early days, you would have. That's how it would have worked.
Okay, and so was there any competition when your granddad Roy started?
Bynorm was the company.
Okay.
A Melbourne-based company.
And they were a distributor.
They were a parts
Okay.
distributor or an aftermarket spare parts supplier, similar to what GA Spares is
Yeah.
today.
What's Binor now? Does it exist?
Yeah, we actually own Bynorm.
Okay, beauty. Yeah.
But there's a funny
There is a
there's
funny
a funny story there because when
Make me laugh then.
it's not actually all that
I'll
funny.
just-
It's an
I'll
interesting
take my
story,
fly
we
now.
should say, yeah. But so Roy decided when he couldn't be serviced probably by the OEMs with parts, and he
Yes.
was bringing parts in from overseas. And he thought, you know what? He was speaking to other dealers, and he goes, "No one's servicing these guys properly. I'm going to close my retail business, and I'm actually going to start a parts business, import parts and bring parts in, or make parts locally." And service those dealers, which he did, and he became a parts supplier to the local retailers around Brisbane. Now, in 1974, so by 1974, he'd grown that business, and it was located down on the Brisbane River. 1974 floods.
Not good, eh?
Right? And the business got flooded out, and Roy's just gone, you know what, I'm sick of this. I'm going to sell the business, and Bynorm in Victoria purchased it. He wasn't really a competitor. They were in Victoria in their own right, doing the same thing as what Roy was.
Different days, right?
So
Different.
that's right. So Bynorm thought, okay, we'll head up here and we'll buy that business. So Roy sold the business to them.
What was
Fast-
it called then? Sorry to butt in.
It was called Roy Gripske
Okay,
and Sons,
beauty.
and that's
Yeah.
why you see this old
Yeah.
FJ Holden here with Roy Gripske and Sons on
Yep,
the side.
yep.
So then he had retired, and in the meantime, Paul Gripske had got he'd become a small engine mechanic. He was running a retail and service motorcycle shop, and he had an opportunity to buy into that shop. And Roy said, "Mate, don't buy into it. If you come, no one's servicing these guys properly. Let's restart the business as it was as a parts distributor. You can work 3 days a week and have the rest of the week off." And so he did that for 2 weeks, and then he worked 6 days for the rest of his life. That's just how it happened. And they started in Roy's garage in Redcliffe in a little hi-ace van. And so then from there, that was in 1981. And so from there, as a parts business, that's how it started. And it has traditionally been, the core of our business has been our aftermarket parts supply to the dealer network since. And at a later stage, then we started whole goods and moving.
What was the first whole good?
Shindawa.
Yep.
Oh,
Shindawa
wow. So
was
was
the
that
first.
like when...
So
like,
Victor had it.
Yeah.
Victor had Shindawa first.
Yep.
And they really didn't know what they had. And
Yep.
I think it was 93.
93.
93. We took that over, and we're in Beach Street in Kipparinga those days, and I was going in and packing the little blades and the little packets and that, and we went into that sort of space. But it was an interesting thing because the product was so good, but it wasn't distributed well, and the biggest challenge to it was spare parts supply. So if you look at why Roy actually entered into the aftermarket spare parts business, it was because the OEM's parts supply was terrible. Similarly, when we started the units business, we could see that there was a fantastic product that needed backup and support, and we thought that we could give it the backup and support, and it grew into an absolute,
It was a monster.
a monster.
When I first started,
Yeah.
everyone was running Shindawa. It's a Brisbane thing, maybe.
Yeah.
Am I the only one who says Shindawa?
Maybe.
Yes.
Shindawa.
Absolutely.
I don't know why. I've tried since doing the podcast and everything, but I just can't. I can't change it.
But if you do speak to Graham Allen, who was instrumental in starting Shindawa for us,
Put your gloves on if you speak to him. He'll fucking knock you out.
I remember the
You
first
don't
demo.
talk shit around him, eh?
The first demo you guys came out, I saw
We've
him.
talked about
Yeah.
Graham on the podcast before.
The look that he was giving us while we were rolling around, he's like, "Get the fuck off my machine!" I was like, "Oh,
I've
guys are
told
great.
the
that's
story.
just his concentration.
The first day,
he's waiting."
the first day I ever met him, I'm sitting out here in the foyer, and the catch pro's sitting there. Vicky was with me, and it was when I had been injured really bad first with my back. I was probably fucking high on endone. And legitimately for 5 minutes, not one word was said, and I was like, "Oh man, this dude's he's gonna rush me right here." Like I didn't know, I just didn't know, I didn't know what was gonna happen. Anyway, he turned out to be a really great guy. But I'll never forget. Like I used to come in with Rusty, and Rusty's, he's wound a little tighter than me, eh? And I'd be like saying stuff, eh? And Rusty'd be going like, "Shut the fuck up, Ben. Just shut up. He's gonna fucking knock you."
Oh man. Well, I'm glad I didn't have too many meetings with him because he'd probably be like, "What the fuck is this thing on about?" Oh god. Now, you were talking about the Shindawa stuff. I want to know about the advertising back in the day. Now, because we've got social media, you can make a post and send it out to millions of people. Were you guys like doing the old Benny style ads in the paper and like
just like, "Oi, buy
like
a
how
catch
do you
pro."
reach your target market back in the day?
In
What was the
those
deal?
days,
I hate
and
saying that
I
back
wasn't
in the
here in
day.
those days, but I know when I joined and I looked at our whole goods marketing, and it was atrocious. Our business is traditionally a parts business, and when you're marketing parts, you're selling to the dealer.
Yeah, yeah.
No consumers walking in going, "I want GA parts." You're selling to the dealer.
Can I just ask, just quickly, sorry to butt in, do people try and walk through this door and be like, "Oi, give us an air filter"?
Oh, all the
Sometimes.
time it happens. And then we have to say, "No, we don't. You have to go see a dealer."
This is
that
just
does
the
happen.
show.
But sometimes if they got cash, are you ever just like, "Yeah, all right."
Beer money.
No, we used to have DJs up the road here, and when we're in Redcliffe, we used to have Redcliffe Miles that like literally at the end of the street.
Yeah, okay, fair
So
enough.
just go down and see them, and they'd literally go down the end of the street, turn around and come back up, and then off they go again.
Nice.
Sorry to cut you off, Paul. Keep going.
No, you're right. So, but what we were good at, and what Paul Graham was good at, is selling the story and the marketing to the dealer is very technical because it's about price and service. It's not about the consumer's not shopping you around. So it's very much about making sure that the information you provide helps the dealer pick the right product for and part for the machine they're trying to fix. It's completely different for consumer marketing. And so what we had was these really, really terrible like catalogs with just all this technical information, a photo of the product and technical information. It's like, no the consumer's going to look at it going, I don't care if it's like a chromated piston. I don't care.
We did
Like,
used to do TV ads. You have seen
oh
Graham
my gosh.
on a brush cutter.
That's right.
Oh my
TV
God.
ads.
Oh my God.
Are they on YouTube?
And we had a big dog TV ad in the day.
Yeah, that was
and it
terrible.
was,
was
the worst
terrible.
ad. It's this lady and a bikey dude, he's mowed the lawn and the guy gets off and the lady walks out and he goes, that's a big dog. It was such a bad ad.
It can't be worse than some of the shit that I bloody release.
Oh my God.
We
I
did
do-
an
I do-
Oregon chainsaw chain ad with some of the stuff we used to do was bad.
We got to dig some of this stuff up and
Fuck
put
yeah.
start releasing it as reels.
What I
as
will tell you
advertising
is
for our show.
what they did do well is those sort of field day type events
okay.
where you're showcasing the product and people can touch and feel it. Where in those days, field days were big.
Yeah.
Some of that's dying now. It's
Well,
people can do all of their market research online now.
It's not like you can turn a fucking PTO clutch on a field day in these days.
Yeah.
Oh my God, the blades are moving.
Yeah, I know. It's hard. It is hard. Like we're looking into all that sort of stuff now with the events coming up, and it's just a fucking minefield really for like the actual organizer to navigate the insurances and shit. And I'm just like, man, I fucking mow lawns, eh? Like I'm not. This is not me. But no, like that's what I'm trying to do. Like, and I know, like we've spoken a lot at the last event. And I think, like, I get what you mean with, like, you can go online and find out most things, but you can't touch and feel.
No, you
you
can't.
can't feel the balance of a product. You can't smell it. You can't meet the people behind it. You can't get a sausage.
100%, and that's what. So, but people are doing that research online. Then they're going to shop and touching and feeling it. But in those days, it was just less of that. It was more. Well, you just didn't have that social media. You didn't have that digital touch point for the consumer. So a lot of it was done with
AdQuip field days.
Yeah, and with print media, field days, like at real touch points with real
shows,
people.
like the Royal Show.
Oh, okay,
all those show events where you'd go and set up, and people would come in. And Graham actually used to run a chainsaw, and he used to chainsaw race and rip posts.
Wow.
So at all those shows, we'd have
He's a real team player, right?
Yeah, he's in
7x7
heaven.
chainsaw with Oregon bar and chain on it. So in those days, we're the Oregon distributor. So he used to represent both products. And we still do that now. You know, I did AgQuip and Henty this year, and we try and get to those trade shows and still try and do that. I think it's really important, and it does give us real feedback from the market, and you get real feedback from people that have it actually using the product. But the days of using print media and newspaper ads and things like that, they're definitely it's definitely no longer like that.
What does GA stand for?
So originally or now?
both.
Walk
Give
us
us
through.
both.
Walk us through everything, mate.
So very early on, it was Golden Age Spares,
Okay.
which was a brand of product that they were doing, and now it's Gripske Aftermarket.
Ah, okay, cool.
Oh, very nice.
So
Did Graham
the
Allen,
Golden
did
Age
Graham
came
Allen
around-
ever try and take credit for it and be like, no, it's fucking Graham Allen spares?
Graham Allen never took a lot of credit for a lot of things, actually. And Graham did do a lot of things for this business, and he worked very hard in it for a very long time. But no, that one's not one he can take any credit
I
for.
would've
But
done
building
that straight
Shindaiwa, seriously, in all seriousness, and getting the product right, pushing back on like the EB240 to get the fuel system right in it. The 757's mufflers used to fall off, and there was a vibration would undo the screws at the front. Like, he was instrumental in getting that sort of thing done. And Graham, Pro Cut chain is
Oh man, those chains
Yeah.
are so
Oh,
gangster.
yeah.
yeah. So
I'm telling you, like, I just can't, like, I mean, I don't know how many cuts you're supposed to get with one of those, but like, I've cut down like 3,000 fucking trees with the one chain.
yeah.
Like, I'm telling you.
And as a consumer, the cost is like you
That's-
go and buy a steel chain and you fucking nearly need to take out a second mortgage.
I mean, I just remember, I just remember like on the tools, like, you know, usually in the winter time, you know, your chainsaws have been kind of sitting around for a while. It's like, oh, you know, go buy new chains. And, you know, you sort of do a couple of jobs and it's like, oh, okay, touch this one up, rah, rah, rah. And towards the tail end of my career, you know, when I started using these Pro Cut chains, it's like they just stay good for ages.
Yep.
We're really proud of the development work we've done with that, and Luke is he's carrying the torch that Graham started there because Graham has moved on from the business. But you guys know Luke quite well, and our R&D team does a very good job, and we're constantly working, not just with chain, but with all of our product to try to make it better and more suitable to our market. And we don't always get it right, and we know that. And so, but we believe that a good reflection of a good business is, you know, just acknowledging the mistakes you make or the problems you have and fixing it. You just got to fix those things. That's
what products are made in Australia? I know it's not like, you know, but you guys do make some parts here.
Yeah, so
Correct?
swingback blades. So the majority of our swingback blades, there is a very limited number of imported blades, but I would say 95% of the swingback blades in the GA packaging are made here. We make edger blades, so the disc edger blades and the Adam edger crisscross, the two-piece ones.
Yep.
Not for Adam, and they make their own, obviously. They've got a genuine one, but we have a non-genuine version.
Yes.
We make discs, so Cox blade discs and Rover blade discs and the Victor discs and things like that. Cylinders, so, you know, Queen cylinders and Scott Bonner 17s and 20-inch, you know, reel mail reels.
Yeah.
Did you see a massive influx over the last, say, like 5 or 6 years of people just
Absolutely.
like hunting Scott? Like,
So the day, like if you, the days of looking after your lawn and being proud of it are back, I feel. I think that's been the re-emergence of the cylinder mower. You could say the cylinder mower market's nearly aligned with your stander market. It's something that just never really was that big here. Early days, Scott Bonner was huge in Australia, so it's a little bit different, but it definitely had died. And you know, you speak to a lot of dealers, selling one cylinder mower a year was a surprise to them, and now we're doing a lot more of that. But I think that's because Australians are proud. They like having a nice lawn. They like looking good, and we've seen a big lift in that now.
it became it's a culture now. Like, you know, what Lenny's done with the Lawn Fanatics has been incredible.
It's huge.
There's like 90,000 people in there or something.
But I do feel
lawn
like there's
fanatics,
some
lawn porn. There's a heap of them.
I feel like there's some sort of, you know, real estate limitations now. Like, you know, if they'll knock down an area and they start building it up and retaining it and do it, you know, like that stuff's not great, obviously, for cylinder mowers.
Flat ground is definitely best for cylinder
Yeah,
mowers.
you know, whereas I can imagine, you know, when they used to bulldoze these sections and you just get like a flat block piece of dirt to build a house on. Yeah. Whereas now everything's, you know, curves and up and down and crazy stuff going on. So, but it's interesting. I've been saying it for a while. Like, I know in the WA market, they're just, you know, they're always bloody coring and, you know, dethatching, and they've got the cylinders. And I think in Queensland, there's a real opportunity for contractors to really get into that.
Well, the finish is better for one, but it's also better for the grass itself. So the cut, when you're using a rotary blade, is tearing the leaf, and the cylinder is actually cutting it like a pair of scissors, and the plant doesn't get any damage in the leaf.
That's right.
And it actually grows back much better. And something that is taking the market a little bit at the moment by storm is the robotics that have just come to market, and we're the distributor for Segway. I don't know. Did you have Segway there?
Yeah, mate.
Yeah,
It was on the bottom there.
Oh.
Yeah.
Did I hear Spartan in that too, just while I was going through the brands?
Yeah, it's there. It was after Gravely.
Yep. The Segway auto mowers, and so they're using a little razor blade type thing, and they're getting very close to a cylinder mower finish actually. So
Yeah, so I'm running a Segway at home.
Yeah.
And it's doing a really good job. I still have to do the edges, but you know, it's neither here nor there for me. It's like an L shaped. And it's just nice. Just like we went away for a weekend, I got back and looked at my notifications. It was all done. Like I was just like, that's mad.
I was using a 17-inch Scott Bonner at home.
Oh, okay.
And so I was using a reel mower, and so the finish is really important to me. And I never thought that a rotary mower would ever do it, but it's not there, but it's close.
Yeah.
It's close enough, and not having to do it 3 times a week is enough not to need to do it. So, and they can do slopes and different gradients and things like that. So
Yeah.
there is a few things coming to it, but
I originally looked into it because we've got a village with a community centre, and I just wanted to take a little bit of pressure off the boys because it's a big village, and not having to mow this large section would take a lot of pressure off. And I don't want to give it to them now. I just want to keep it at my house.
we're definitely going to see a shift into that space in the market in the next 5 to 10 years. And you can see as the technology is improving, I don't know how many people. Have you got a RoboVac at home? Are you using the vacuums at home?
No, we don't. We should do. Look, I'm a little bit iffy on this robot space only because, and it's obviously personal. Like I have to figure out, okay, if I was to get behind this concept, how am I going to capitalize financially? But I think no matter what, I think yes, there will be a space for it. I do always think it's going to be limited. Like BJ said, hey, you should, chuck this robot at your house. And I'm sitting there looking at it now. I am not impressed by my lawn at all, right? I moved into a 1/2 acre crack house and it's just weeds everywhere. I've put some turf in here and there, and we got there's all these different types of turf, different levels. When I'm saying levels of cut, all of these challenges that and then I got 2 Labradors that would average about 6 shits a day each.
Well, do you have to pick them up?
Yes.
Do you enjoy picking that up?
Well, look, I don't enjoy, but I do it. I do it religiously. Like I don't let that shit build up.
Imagine
because
I got 3
fixes for you.
No,
Imagine if he answered
I don't know
yes.
about that. I don't know that I could
Picking
let.
up dog shit.
Well, that's what I was
my
expecting. The
favourite.
reason why I didn't want the robot was because
No,
one thing that those robots will fix for you for the rest of your life is I've got granted it's not a Labrador, but Peter Cosgrove, who works for us, has got a Rottweiler, and it's a big Rottie. And that is probably one of the biggest positives about the robots.
But I feel like
there's no more dog shit. It's
just
gone.
feel like one of these Sturges would full bog down that mower.
It
just hit him,
turns
just
it
be
into
like, fuck.
fertiliser.
You probably won't want to fucking lick the underside of your robo mower, though.
You definitely don't want to go and run your hands over the wheels.
Yeah.
But
You'd be surprised at how well it gets rid of that. It just disappears. It's like my dogs do ghost shit now.
Ghost shit. We gotta put that out as a clip.
Fuck.
So going back to the products that are made in Australia, is there any others?
so we've just released a chipper. So the
Yep.
chipper.
Yes.
The
Chipper
chipper
chopper.
chopper.
And what is
made
the
here.
reason why? Because we've heard everything about the Chinese manufacturing, and people trip on it and hate it, but I understand it because they don't it would be great to have manufacturing in Australia again. I understand that, but really that Chinese manufacturing is still a great avenue for small Australian businesses to really get established, right? It's like a different business concept, but why is the chipper, for example, manufactured here and not in China?
What we wanted to do there is we wanted to take a step. We wanted to invest in making more of our product here.
Okay.
And so, look, we make about 6 million swingback blades a year. We make a lot of swingback blades. We make a lot of discs. We make a lot of small components for our GA business. But Bushranger for us, and there's been a lot of questions even on the LMCA page, well, why are they taking this brand and branding a Bushranger, etc. And for us, there's a lot of reasons for that. But one thing we want to do is invest back into our own business and invest back into our own people and give local people to us and where we're located all over Australia the chance for employment. And I think if what we can do well is we can make a product really well locally, as long as it's not huge volumes, because you just can't compete with the Chinese on volume. But if it's small volume product that we think we can make better here, and we're in control of the quality, and if there's an issue we can resolve straight away, then we should be trying to make it here. That's our philosophy as a business.
Yep.
And that's why. So that's why we took that step, because for us there's such a low volume product that it gives us a chance to step into the manufacturing space of manufacturing a whole good and ramping up our people's skill set so that we can go to bigger and higher volume products, and that's just a good space to start that low volume.
But I mean, it's funny. Like I was obviously up there at the factory when I think it must have been the first run was produced, and I take a photo and chucked it on social media for years, and even said like first batch ready, Australian made, all the shit. And I get comments and they're like, oh, that they just look like they're fresh out of a pallet. I'm like, I fucking just told the story. Like, I literally read the fucking caption.
Going back to advertising, that must be a fucking pain in the ass. Now you do have social media.
Yeah.
If you were to send out like 2,000 shit whippersnippers back in the day, that feedback wouldn't get back very quickly and it wouldn't get spread around. Like today, if something happens and one person's not happy and they make enough noise, you fucking end up on Channel 9.
It happens all the time, and it is frustrating. You guys will know, like particularly you, Ben, you'll know how frustrating it is. And
brother.
I think for us, like for me, because there are a lot of comments on the LMCA page about the cheap guy. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like the guy who'll do your lawn for $20. And everyone's blowing up about the guy who'll do the lawn for $20. And it's frustrating for contractors, right? It is frustrating for contractors because at the end of the day, you guys have got overheads. You've got to make money. You've got to make a profit so you can feed your kids. You can pay your mortgage. That's important. And so we suffer the same thing that the contractor does. It's really frustrating to us when we're an Australian business, Australian family-owned business, like our dealers are, Australian family-owned businesses, like the lawn contractors are. And, they do have their gripe with those guys who are charging $20. So we have the same gripe. And it's frustrating to us when we're trying to invest in growing our business, employing Australians, and we're the only people in this industry with a warehouse in every state. We have a warehouse in every state to service our dealer network. It's important to us to service the dealer network. So we have a lot of overheads, more than our competitors, because we've got to pay for all of those warehouses.
Yep.
So we're never going to be the cheapest, but we want to be the best in terms of our service. And again, we're not perfect. We don't always get it right, like contractors don't. It just happens. But it is frustrating when we invest in this and then people just make assumptions about our business or make comments because they've had one problem with the machine. Well, like we're here to try to fix it, and we're not on the LMCA page. I had a comment recently. What's going on with Bushranger? Why is there not much noise on the LMCA page? Because you know what? The LMCA page is for contractors to talk to other contractors.
Yeah.
It's not there for us to try to sell our product. And you and I have talked about this before, Ben. I don't think it's right for us to hop on that page and push our product all the time. And there are other people doing that, and that's up to them. That's fine. But we're sitting here quietly in the background supporting our dealers. We want the contractors to go to the dealers because the dealers are mum and dad businesses in your local community. And that they need the support and the money to cover their overheads and put dinner on the table for their family, just like the contractor does.
Let's be honest, being a dealer right now would be a bit of a hard task. The amount of COVID, and then there was supply issues, and then now we've got weather patterns are all fucking skew with, and the dry season. There's shops shutting down all the time.
Our industry, man, it's tough. It's too hot, too cold, too wet, too dry. Like it's just it's pretty gnarly.
We've been doing that for 42 years. That's our business, and we know it. And it is tough. It's tough when you're competing against big international players that grab the profits and push it back overseas. Like we're not about that. And so, but we sit quietly in the corner, and we actually. We sit there and feel sorry for ourselves about this situation, but realistically, that's just business. And but for us, we want to work closer with the contractor. We want people to understand who we are as a business because it's important to us.
So when we talk about just the rebranding part, because people get confused and other people think it's sneaky, and at Catch Pro, I mean we put a gimmick on almost anything. Like we will bring something in and we'll put. It's an existing product, and we'll just call it a name, and then it's a Catch Pro product. You guys obviously do this with Spartan, and it's no secret. It's a fucking Spartan mower.
Yep.
That is, you know, it's an American product.
You'd be amazed how many people tell us that that's a Chinese mower.
That's right. But just to give people, I mean, you don't need. I don't know if you guys want to, name all of these other brands, but rebranding in our industry happens across the board.
Yeah,
like, isn't
absolutely.
there like John Deere tractors that get made by Cub Cadet?
I wouldn't go into specifics around it, but I'd say that I don't know of one that manufactures the entire suite of products themselves.
Yeah, but in bed with like straight up, not say competitors, but other people in the
Absolutely.
It happens.
industry. Yeah, so
Absolutely.
like people,
There's definitely big players making products for other people.
yeah, like so.
But it's all about components, isn't it? Like every product has
volume.
fucking
Well,
20,000
it's all
different
about
components.
it's about economies of scale. Like
Yeah.
for a manufacturer to actually produce something cost effectively, they need the economies of scale, and the only way they can get that is to build for other brands. It's not unusual. It happens in every industry. It happens in the car industry. It happens everywhere. It's
That's
not
right.
unusual. The question that we've had before that's been posed on the page is, I'm really frustrated with Bushranger. It's quite clearly not a Bushranger product. It's this product. Yeah, it is. But to market the product, the reason that we do that is I can take the brand that manufacture for us, and in Bushranger there's about 18 different manufacturers for our products. So I can take their brand and I can advertise that and say this is this brand. But do you know how much that costs to get a brand up and running if I'm advertising 18 different brands?
Mm-hmm.
I've got to bring it in under one suite, call it, and this is for the benefit of the dealer and as well as the consumer, because it all falls under the care of us as RGS. So I can't expect the dealer to try to help carry a brand that just doesn't have the volume. I have to bring it all in under one brand, rebadge it that brand, because my marketing spend is limited anyway. We're only a family business. I don't have the big international spend that the big guys have. So I've got to use that spend effectively, and I can't split it across so many different brands. You just don't get the economies of scale in marketing. So we have to do it that way. And the other reason why we do that is the Bushranger brand to us, this is the core of what we do here, is we have, as Ben has said before, we have been frustrated in the past by growing really good brands and growing those brands in this market because we service the market very well, we service the dealer network very well, and the dealers like that. So that's helped the brand grow. And then it gets to a certain size and they go, okay, thanks, we'll take that now and we'll do it ourselves. Because it gets to a size and volume where the supplier to us can come here and do it themselves.
Yeah.
So can we talk
but look
quickly
at it.
about and just give some examples? Not everyone knows all of this stuff, but and obviously our audience will be they'll know about the recent stuff that's happened. But even if you just take a brand like Big Dog, for example, like I know that I had kind of spoken to dealers, your dealers, that had really obviously you guys build the brand. But, they're the ones selling it to their customers.
And they build it in their local community.
That's right. They built up all of these great reputations. All of a sudden, fucking Big Dog's gone.
Yeah.
And then it's a little bit behind the scenes, but the way that was set up, you essentially had Big Dog and Hustler, right? Mm-hmm. When talk me through when you were building the dealer network for Big Dog and Hustler, what the rules were with dealers and...
So originally, Big Dog was set up to be XL Industries in the US wanted to run a different range of products to compete in a different market space to Hustler. So the original plan was that they were going to have a different quality product. It was actually going to be a higher quality product than Hustler originally.
But just for the people listening, like same manufacturers.
Same
Hustler and
manufacturer.
Big Dog.
Yep. So XL Industries manufactured Hustler and Big Dog, and still does. It's now owned by SPD, but it was the Mullet family that owned it back then.
Yep.
But the original plan was they're going to have a higher priced unit than Hustler. They were going to go slightly different in the quality, and they were going to target a different space. So we sit around, we have a meeting. That's the direction they want to take their company. We can see that there's avenues for it. A lot of towns where you cross over, there's room. So you may have a big Hustler dealer, say, on the Gold Coast, and then not another big hustler dealer till you get to Mullumbimby, for example. There's a huge amount of space in the middle there, and there could be a really good dealer right in the centre between those two towns. Newban, for example, and down there. Hustler wouldn't work there because he's going to compete south of him, he's going to compete north of him. Whereas Big Dog works perfectly for him because it's slightly different. He's got a level of, enough differentiation between the product, and he can service his local community with those products and not then be competing with these two giant shops that are really, and they will not let anyone in once you get up and going.
And as a distributor, it's a great 1-2 punch for you guys, right? It's a great way to almost double the dealer network.
It gives us that
with two brands.
Gives us a reason to deal with these guys, and that's what it's about. So yes, it does give us a 1-2, and absolutely it gives us coverage. So we're touching more communities and more population centres as such. And you don't want to do the wrong thing geographically by your big dealers either. So those hustler dealers, by putting another hustler dealer in there, you're actually limiting how many hustlers that guy can sell.
Was there conflict though by putting a red hustler in the region?
Well, there wasn't when it started because there was differentiation in the product. And if I can talk to Aaron's and Gravely right now, so essentially we have Aaron's and Gravely right now. Yep. There is a significant difference in those products. Like if I put
significant.
If I put the two products side by side, there's that much in it that you wouldn't know if I didn't tell you that they're made by the same supplier. And that was what Big Dog was originally. But as these things go, and as Dad likes to put it, as the accountants get their fingers into it, it makes no sense for a single line manufacturer. And Hustler only had one paint line, for example. So changing the colours for them became ever so cumbersome for them to do it. And it was just challenging for them to do that. It used to take them a whole day to shut the line down, to clean it, to prepare it to run the red colour. So over time, the accountant's gone and said, this makes no sense. Why are we making a different coloured mail? Why are we doing this? And the availability of those machines just changed. And then the cost of making them different is expensive. Where if you're making everything the same and everything the same price, so then the strategy changes over time, and then they become, they sort of moved it to becoming the same product. Then once the product is the same, then it is just a red hustler. Yep. And with the internet these days, people get onto that very, very quickly. So then you don't have that differentiation, and especially when they were asking a higher price of Big Dog product at the time.
But it did have a few different. You used to get some fucking lights, and
they had,
but not enough, not enough, and not enough for the price difference. And again, what Ben's saying is right. As the prevalence of the consumer shopping online or doing their research online increased, the viability of that product then drops away, and our volume dropped away quite significantly because what would happen is the consumer's shopping around, and as part of their shopping around, this looks the same as that, it's just red. So, okay, it looks a little bit different. So they're sort of starting to get a feel that's a bit the same, but essentially the same product. And then they're shopping the hustler dealer against the Big Dog dealer. And the hustler dealer, and they're going to say this, they're going to say, mate, why would you spend an extra $2,000 on that unit when this is the same, it's just yellow?
Yeah,
and
true
so
that's
what happens. So, and then for us, it just wasn't a viable choice anymore. And we let Big Dog go. It was a strategic choice of ours to let Big Dog go.
And then they dissolved it in the US anyway, did they?
Well, they had it. They've got it running somewhat, but it keeps changing. And where they're up to now with it, we don't know. But it was our decision to pull it out of the Australian market. That was on us. Whereas,
but was that only to take on Spartan?
No.
Or
it
is
just
that
didn't
two
make
separate
sense anymore.
Okay.
So having Big Dog against Hustler just didn't. The product was exactly the same. They wanted $500 more, I think it cost, for a Big Dog to be painted red, and we could only get them produced twice a year. So we had to produce a forecast. So you look at what it costs to stock. Like you've walked through here, you see how many mowers we got sitting here. You imagine you've got to try and think. You've only got 2 chances to order. So it was just too complicated to get it right, and then you're letting people down. And as soon as we start letting people down, we don't want anything to do with that.
Yeah.
Did they have a Super Z equivalent?
They had the Diablo, which was
that the
The next
equivalent?
one.
It was an X1,
The next one
more so
equivalent.
than a Super Z equivalent. Yeah.
Okay.
I think standard Super Z's sort of between an X1 and a standard Super Z.
It's Diablo MP, yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah, it's
there was
just
a
in-
few in there.
Yeah. Oh, it's only intriguing to me personally because right when I started Catch Pro, that's when I started going behind the scenes a little bit. And, all of a sudden when I started learning this stuff, then bang, these brands were gone.
Yeah.
I think Kubota had a stand
they
on that
did.
was made by Bobcat.
Yeah.
And John Deere had a stand on that Wright
Yeah, I
was
think- yeah, it
making.
was Wright.
So it's common, right?
Yeah.
All of
Yeah, it
this,
is common. It is common.
rebranding and different pieces.
It is very common, and back to what I was saying before, is a big reason that people won't understand why we do that with Bushranger is because big brands like Shindaiwa, who we grew to a significant size, and it is a shadow of its former self when it was with us, right?
I was going to say, do
And
you feel good seeing
there's
that?
other brands. There's other brands that
It's like watching your ex-missus get fat, eh?
It'd be a bit of a
Interesting analogy.
it'd be a little bit hard to see it too because you guys would have worked so hard behind the scenes to get it.
We
But-
did work. And there are other brands, and we don't need to name them all, but there's other brands that we've had that we grew, and we made the decision that, listen, we're sick of growing brands for that to get to a certain size, for then the OEM to go, oh, thanks for that, we'll take that now. That doesn't work well for us. So that's why Bushranger was started. And that's why we grab machines from other manufacturers and call them Bushranger, because at the end of the day, the amount of money and time and effort we put into growing that brand and working with the dealer and with the contractor and the home user on getting that brand up and running, we own that at the end of the day. It's owned by us as an Australian business, and no one can take that away from us. So if someone says we don't want to manufacture for you anymore, we can take that brand and get it rebadged on another machine that's manufactured by somebody else,
Yep.
and not lose all of that effort and time and money we've put into growing the brand. That's why
Yeah.
we do it.
But really on an actual equipment level, it still somewhat can hurt because if you got a bloody Spartan that's Bushranger and you build that up and then for some reason Spartan is no longer, then you need to do it with something else.
I don't disagree with what you're saying.
I'm not trying to
there,
expose
but,
you, I'm just trying to-
No, but I do think there's also a lot of positives in it. If you look at Shindaiwa, for example, and Shindaiwa is a product that we can talk about comfortably. There was really the T260 in there. There was a 446 chainsaw, and that's all they had. So all the Shindaiwa dealers, they always needed another brand because if they wanted an entry point, chainsaw or an entry point whip, they just Shindaiwa didn't have that. So they didn't have that solution across them all. Whereas with Bushranger and having so many different access points, we can then really meet each requirement. So that's why we do have Chinese built product in the Bushranger
But that is
range,
still
and
a
that's why
two. That is
you've
still.
got that
Sorry
there.
to cut you off, pal.
You're
That
right.
is a two-way street still because then you have a contractor walking into a store and they're like, "Fuck yeah, $3.99."
Oh, that happens all the
I'll
time.
get myself a
But-
bench shaft.
No, I understand that,
and,
but
and what happens then is sometimes, because a dealer,
sometimes, every time.
a dealer, hasn't done,
Yeah.
the job the right way or whatever the case. I mean, sometimes, mate, like you just can't.
You can't
I
change
tell
them into
people all the time. People will say, "Hey, I've got a Rover. Can we put a Catch Pro on it?" I'm like, "Look, it's just not really suitable. You really want a fab deck." All this stuff, right. At the end of the day, it's like, man, just give me your money. You just do what you want. So I understand that, but what's difficult is when people will get on social media
Yeah.
with an entry level machine and be like, "Oi, man, the exhaust cover just melted to it." Like that machine's not supposed to be run that way.
Yeah.
That's correct.
And that's what's tough.
We definitely get that. But at the same time, if you look at the reason we're here, it's for the dealer.
Yeah.
And the dealer doesn't only service contractors. The dealer is servicing everyone from
Yeah.
ma and pa to contractors to government municipalities
Yeah.
all the way through. So we're trying to give that dealer the complete suite of products for that. The challenge for us is getting the education out there to contractors of what is the right product to use. And it's interesting because if you go back to the swap between Shindaiwa and Maruyama, and because you're so used to T230s, T260s, T270s, B450s, that's the model number you're used to. So then straight away you're looking at a M230 or an M260 in the Mariama equivalent, now Bushranger. But so you're trying to compare them in, and then so people are just looking same for same and trying to compare them through. Whereas if you look at the specs on the T260, there was no 26cc machine that was ever going to beat that. That was the best machine on the market.
Bloody fantastic machine.
Yeah, it was.
It
a good
really was.
machine
They
before
just
this.
never died.
No.
People are giving their left nut. They'll come up on Marketplace
Yeah, they're good
and
machines.
people are scrambling over each other to get to it because they're just such a desirable machine still.
Dude, I bought one off Gumtree, right?
Yeah.
And the dude's like, look, it's kind of frustrating where I bought it for $300. It had no fuel in it.
No.
I put fuel in it, and it
Well-
became me every day.
They weren't without their problems either. The triggers used to be a real
Yeah.
hassle on
Throttle
them, and
cables,
throttle
yeah.
cables, and we used to, and the air filters used to be really bad on them as well.
We used to buy them and do surgery on them
Yeah.
first.
Yeah.
Just, tape around the cable, just little bits and pieces.
Yeah.
yeah,
Bung them on because it's not like they would fuck up from using them all the time. It's like when you put them down or put them on a rack, or that's when you see some of the bits and pieces.
Now,
like
you were
that.
saying in regards to like contractor education, how do you guys go about educating your dealers on all of your lines? Because you've got so many lines, so that's a massive amount of education you need to give to dealers. So do they all do, like, is there a course? Is there a TAFE course?
So with Kawasaki, for example,
Yep.
and pre-COVID, so it's been a little bit on the back burner since COVID, but we used to do Kawasaki schools every year for dealers, and we used to do service training for Kawasaki regularly, and we would travel the whole country. So we would start in Cairns and then rotate the whole way around. And we do...
Is that back up and running now, or is that...
we're working on having something like that again
Next year.
Next
When
year.
can I come?
Yeah, you can come.
Yeah.
Fuck me, count me out.
I think
I ain't
you'll
going
find
to
it,
school.
If you're not earning, you're learning.
Yeah. So we do that, and then with 24 sales guys across the country and having those touch points. So you've got to remember that yes, it's a huge group of brands, but it's split in two.
Yep.
And then a dealer doesn't necessarily have Bushranger, Steger, Gravely, Spartan. It's normally one or maybe two.
Okay.
So for the rep, the training for that dealer is on those two products. We used to do Oregon training regularly when we had Oregon saw chain, and we used to do like a service school for saw chain there. And that's how we get around, and that's our way of training those dealers. So
Yep.
yes, there is definitely training put in there. Training the dealer on which unit to use, that's one thing, but training the guy that you're talking to as a contractor walking through the door that's selling you the product, that's a challenge in itself.
Yeah.
They get all sorts of different incentives. So sometimes they might be incentivized to sell you something completely different to what we want you to be buying. And the other thing too is sometimes they're just young kids that just have no idea, and they're just doing the best they can in the moment. So that's what is hard. And what was real easy is when we had Shindawa, it was just buy a T260. 'cause, that's going to solve.
Everyone's
90% of
doing
your-
it.
Yeah, that's right. And that's just how it went. Whereas now the breadth of product across that is so big, and getting the understanding around what an emission compliant unit is compared to a non-emission compliant unit. What's the difference between stratified and reverse, recycled exhaust, and how does that unit sound compared to this? And trying to get that into a 17 to 19-year-old counter guy is challenging.
Yep.
Was still your biggest competition when you had Shindewa? Like, with the
Still in Husqvarna for sure.
so even back then, Husqvarna was a major player.
Yeah, I would say Husqvarna's dropped off more recently than back then.
Really? Is it?
I don't know.
are you
Is it just a
referring
Brisbane?
more-
Is it
Yeah,
just
is
a Brisbane thing? Like, I
Every
never
contractor, every
always-
contractor had a 260.
I've always known like Husqvarna, but like I wouldn't have known where to go and get one in Brisbane.
I was
like on
more-
my side of town.
With Husqvarna, it was always about their chainsaws. It was never really like their whippersnippers never came across my mind at all, really.
But it is a shame in our industry. Like, I remember the Still FS85 or whatever, and then you got the Shindewa 260. Like, we ran those machines, but it's a shame. Like, is the FS85 still around?
No, so it's non-compliant.
Yeah.
So the
okay.
same as the T260.
Yeah.
So the
But,
same
like,
issues
they're
that
just
face the T260.
two iconic bipper dippers that
Yeah,
it's
they are.
just like new
Absolutely.
people in the industry, like they just won't get it, you know?
I never have that.
They
There you
won't.
got fucking plug-in batteries and all sorts of crazy stuff that
You know, you turn the
never even
idles right
dream
up
of.
on the T260 so you
Yeah.
could just kind of just walk with it, just going like,
Used to be able to run the line.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was a good learning tool for sure. You could really abuse them, and yeah, you could just start them the next day.
Covers would be off them, filters would be off them.
Yeah, I
They'd be coming in for service with no air
Zip
filter
tie.
covers on them.
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
you weren't.
You lose that wing.
used to
nut,
make a little
zip tie it
used to
up.
make a little tissue tampon one for the just put the cap over and be like, this will bloody work, and then you can hear it bogging down, and you finally take the cap off and it's just black and fucked, like all there's just no airflow at all. You don't have to answer this question, but I'm just interested. What would be your biggest zero turn competition currently? Like, is there one? Look, you don't have to answer it, but is there like one brand of zero turn where you're like, I really want to be there, or are you guys superior? What's
No, so I would say that each segment has its own leader. So if you
cool.
look at entry level,
Yep.
there's a different leader in the opening price point.
Can you elaborate on that? Do you reckon? Or look, you don't have to. I mean, it's not like you have to. Look,
I think that actually naming other brands and talking about that is probably not really.
no, that's cool because even it's my rule too. Like when I do what I call like a no sell, where people will talk about my competition, and I'll just be like, who is she? Well, you know, like just not even acknowledge it at all. So I understand.
And it's also wanting to be correct. I don't
Yeah.
want to say what I feel and be wrong and then get nailed
bro.
on the details. You should see.
That's
what
all
we-
right. Just
Oh, yeah,
be,
we are
wait,
unprofessional.
we got the same name. You might.
Oh, it's,
Yeah, the other Ben said it.
oh, that's right.
You know what's awesome I found in the last couple of years, maybe, it's just being in the background, like a lot of people know that both Ben and I talk to a lot of different companies about everything. Noticing relationships actually building between companies because we all sort of encourage everyone to talk. Like
Yeah.
it's actually really good background community. And it's just something I never thought. Like you were being the Kawasaki dealers, you guys would talk to a lot of brands, but yeah, I never had the insight until recently to see that there's actual relationships behind the scenes going on between brands, and it's not
absolutely.
it's not like the cutthroat industry. I mean, when
can
it gets dry and
it
people are
absolutely
like, yeah,
can be.
fucking, we're all getting that sale. You can all get fucked.
I think that's a good point, and it's a conversation that Rob Shearer, when he was still at Skag, and I had some time ago. Is Robert felt the need to go to, and fair enough, that's fair enough, to go to Skag and say, mate, I need some help with Kawasaki, and Gripske's isn't helping me. Just so you know, they're the Spartan and Hustler dealer. And so I rang Rob. I said, mate, our GA business looks after Kawasaki, and we don't care who you are. It's our job to look after any machine in the market with a Kawasaki on it. So put all the competitive stuff aside. We'll help you with this machine. And we actually got, in that case, it was a burnout engine that we asked Kawasaki to help us with a commercial warranty and replace that engine, just to make sure that Rob and the Skag machine was helped out. And I think that even surprised Rob at the time, to be honest. Yeah,
And
that was good.
I do think it's just something to add there too. That's if the deal with Kawasaki is that Skag look after their own warranty. There's all different deals done. So you want to talk about different manufacturers and what people do, who's making things for each other. Kawasaki as an engine plant have different agreements with every supplier. So there's manufacturers there that are buying Kawasaki engines that are taking the entire responsibility for that warranty work themselves. So Kawasaki, and then in turn, Roy Gripske and Sons has nothing to do with that warranty because as a part of the engine sale to that OE, they're getting those engines at a reduced cost so they don't get that service back up. So there's all sorts of different intricacies in the background of how this works, and also every OEM is entitled to look after their own product. So when we had Hustler here, if you could buy a genuine XL Industries oil filter, which was a Kawasaki oil filter in an XL box, essentially, similar to Toro, Skag, John Deere, you can buy genuine Kawasaki products through those guys, and so they have the opportunity to service their own product. We are the Kawasaki distributor for Australia, and we service a lot of product for a lot of these guys, but it's not always coming back on us if it isn't serviced or if there's a warranty rejection. It could be from the Toro side. You've got to remember too that engines fail for multiple reasons.
Yep.
So it's not always the engine's fault. It could be something in the machine. There's a lot of layers in it. And yes, we will absolutely help. And in this instance with that Skag, and I know we do it with Bobcat and a lot of the suppliers out there, absolutely we will get in and we'll do our best. But what it does give is it gives a dealer that's not a Skag dealer or not a Bobcat dealer, if it is a genuine engine failure, the opportunity to fix and repair it.
Yeah.
Nice.
Okay, so I think it's important to know that, because there's definitely some out there that there's no warranty with those machines when they're sold, or the engines when they're sold to the manufacturer.
Okay, so no warranty through you guys, only through the dealership.
Only through the manufacturer.
Through the manufacturer. So if an engine blew on, say, a Bobcat and they didn't have that cover through you guys, they would have to just pay for a brand new engine.
Yes, and they would take that risk as the manufacturer, that if that happens, they'll just supply a new engine. Yeah. So that's where you can get this real grey area, particularly between brands. So, I used to own a brand A, and I put my jacket over the back of that engine and it blew up, and I took it back to the dealer and he had no problems putting a new one on it. Brand B, absolutely, that's your fault.
Yeah.
You've put your jacket over the back of it. There is no way they're going to replace that engine. So,
and it's crazy now. Like, you can plug some shit in and find out exactly what's going on with those machines. Like, you can't get away with things like you used to.
No, that's right. But I think it's just important to differentiate.
Like,
regardless though of those, if there's a problem in the market with the Kawasaki engine, we are the Kawasaki agent, and we will do what we can to get the contractor or consumer working. Now, there are limitations, and Kawasaki will make a call. We will speak with Kawasaki in the USA, but as Ben said, a lot of those deals, that machine might go back to somebody who's not an agent for one of those brands, and so we'll help them. That's what we do.
Yeah, cool. How many people across Australia does RGS employ?
138 at the moment.
Okay, and that's across how many different warehouses? 6
warehouses.
And those warehouses, are they still offices as well, or do you have other offices?
No, they're in all of our office space, essentially admin office space, is located where our
in
warehouses.
The warehouses. Yes. Yeah, cool. Yep. And so did those warehouses take years and decades, or was it, and was it just like one by one, or is it like, nah, fuck that, we're going to go SA and WA now?
Started in Brisbane.
Yeah.
Went to Sydney. So Dad purchased Sydney. Actually, and most of those have been business acquisitions like GA. So GA Dunmore. So Dunmore's in Sydney, similar business to what GA was at the time. Melbourne was a fresh start. So we opened a fresh warehouse in Melbourne. Adelaide was
purchase,
purchase LMI, so lawnmower industry, the Davis boys, and Western Australia was Western Mail Spares. So
acquisitions over time.
Yeah, so and are they people that
these Aussie companies?
Yeah, that's
stay
right.
in like a little bit of a family.
Were these other businesses? So I didn't know that was cool. That's something new. But were those businesses that you looked to acquire, or they looked for a buyout?
Sometimes it was a bit from option A and a bit from option B. The big thing for us is they were our competitor in the part space in each of those towns, and we recognised South Australia, for example. The Davis boys had a very good following in South Australia. They did what they did well. They used to buy product from us and sell it to South Australia, but they also bought product from competitors. And in that, it was a questionable purchase when it went through. Everyone sort of had an eye looking each way, but it worked out for the better long term. Western Australia, he definitely wanted out. He didn't want to be in the market anymore. So in that instance, he was looking to sell the business.
So you immediately, whatever dealer network that they had built up, you immediately acquire that.
Essentially.
But if you already but there was already crossover, like you potentially already had dealers that did business with you guys anyway?
It was more that we were selling that business product anyway. So in a lot of those instances, we were the supplier behind them.
Yep.
And we're the supplier behind a lot of smaller people all around the place,
I
and
would imagine,
other countries, and So there's always these touch points that go in, but purchasing an existing business obviously then gives you access straight to their customer network.
That's right.
In Tasmania, for example, we tried to purchase a business and he didn't want to sell it, so we opened up sort of against him, and it just naturally transitions from one to the other. We're a very, very large business. We've got access to the suppliers direct. When you start purchasing second and third hand, and if you come up head to head against us, it becomes a challenge. That's sort of how we've stepped it out into each of those states.
Have you guys got aspirations of going abroad to maybe New Zealand, putting a finger in that fluffy sheepy pie?
We would.
I find there's no doubt then. I don't even know what you said.
There's so much more market to take in this country, and work with the dealer network to gain more market share. But look, you never say never. It's not off the cards that we might end up somewhere else. But look, we've got good dealer partners already, or distribution partners in New Zealand. So we supply a lot of product already to New Zealand anyway. It's just via a distribution network. Not dissimilar to what Ben's talking about. Like in WA, we would have supplied Western Mower spares with parts.
By West at the time.
Like LMI, he's talking about in South Australia that we acquired. We were supplying them, and then it's like, and that is a really good example, because it's when he's talking about they're looking at us sideways. It's we acquired that business, but the family is still working in that business now. So the business we acquired, the family's still working in it as RGS employees. So at first it's like, oh man, I don't know, like it's this. You guys were our competitors, because we essentially were. Now we own that business, but like Brett Davis, who is the branch manager for South Australia, he's an awesome guy, and it's an awesome little business, and they're really customer centric guys, because that's what they've taken from the LMI, the culture that they brought across from LMI. So it's been a really good outcome from what was probably a very suspect type relationship early on.
Tino came from Dunmore, so we still have some of those employees from those businesses. So in the Sydney purchase, Tino, who's the GA national manager, he came from Dunmore. So we've got good stories like that through each of those. Well, not each of them, but a majority of them, and then we've got some ones that didn't go as to plan. So, and we Tasmania is an example of that. But where we actually employed Andrew. He came to us and he did work for us for a little while. But I think there's always that when you've got a competitor that's purchasing you, you've always got that sort of always looking over your shoulder.
When you go from an employee, an owner to an employee,
yeah, that's right.
It's a whole different dynamic.
Can you imagine me?
Fuck.
Someone buy Catch Pro. Oi, go and get this. It'd be get fucked.
I also think that you've got pride in the pricing that you're selling to, and when we take over someone, we just run a national price list. So if you've been selling Catch Pros at this price, and because we've got volume and size, we can sell them at this price. Sorry, that there's a level of pride in that for you, and that's always a challenge. Yeah.
Jeez, it's like a Bible on the table, isn't it? So every dealer's got one of those bad boys.
Probably 2 or 3.
It's like $150,000 every couple of years to make these catalogues for dealers.
How many products just on the spare parts side? Doesn't have to be accurate.
There's about 22,000 SKUs.
Okay.
So there's a lot of product in here.
It's a phone book. It's like a white pages.
Looking it's a lot of work that goes into making those as well.
I could only imagine.
And the day it's printed, it's out of date. Because we had so much product in all the time that by the time we actually receive them, they're out of date. The best way to see that product is our website, because it's
always updating.
Always updating. So,
so how many products would you add in, say, annually? Would it be 50, 100?
It'd be a few hundred.
Yeah, it'd be a few hundred. Most months, the flyer's got more than 20 or 30 new products in it.
Jesus.
And similarly, we're removing products. And you can see the market shifting in that space. So different brands are sold, and, they survive and they go really, really well for a while. And then another brand will come in, and you see brands change and shift. The aftermarket spares, you only replace or repair product for so long. So that aftermarket space is moving. It's a real moving beast. It changes all the time.
As the want for parts go down, do the prices go up, or do you guys just sell out and then just
Just
it off.
depends. Just depends. It's actually a real challenge. Managing that is a real challenge because
I can only imagine.
38-inch Husky blades is a fantastic example. Pre-COVID, they were doing exactly that. They were just falling off and never seen them. And then COVID hit, and it was like every 38-inch Husky that had never been used for the last 20 years came out of a cupboard somewhere. So you just don't. You
That's
just
an
never
odd
know.
size too.
Yeah.
It's the same with me. Like with our Catch Pros, the Raptor SD was probably responsible for like 70% of the entire Catch Pros that were in the Australian market. They've been discontinued for years. And as soon as you guys no longer had that distribution, we saw that fall off.
Mm-hmm.
But it's amazing now, like, you know, like I still have to make those brackets for those mowers because of how popular they were.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just random. You see an influx, like might be 5 a week or, you know, and it's like, holy shit, you know, I can't believe this one variant just, you know, feels like you'll be making it forever.
Mm-hmm.
Have you guys ever thought for Bushranger bringing out a power tool brand? I mean, under Bushranger?
No, not seriously.
Okay.
It's just not our. It's not our dealer space. They don't play. There's so many big players in that space. You know, you've got.
But I mean, look, you know, maybe this isn't a conversation for the podcast, but the only thing, like, you look at all of these other brands and this battery space, right? And you've got power tool brands that are dipping their toes in OPE. Then you have those Soul OPEs. You know, like, none of these people really have the opportunity to specialize across, like you talk about your lineups, everything from domestic whippersnippers through to your, you know, proper commercial stuff. You know, you got wood chippers, log splitters, like all of this stuff that you can put that Bushranger name on. And I think this whole power tool lineup, it's pretty underrated in our market, isn't it, BJ?
Yeah.
Like, you think you need rattle guns, you need drills, you need grinders, you need all of this shit.
And there's
in
a
your
lot
business.
of guys that will run Makita or Milwaukee, and they'll gravitate towards them because the biggest cost is the batteries. If you've already got a kick in, then you know you're winning straight off the bat. But I don't know. I don't
mean,
know
it has to be.
I don't know if they're.
It has to
in
be real
touch.
time. It can't
Like,
be like, you know, you can't just pick up any old drill and be like, fuck yeah, it's a Bushranger.
I do. Yeah, I love it. Yeah, imagine that, just Bushranger. You guys should do a reciprocating saw though, because that is a fucking handy tool.
No, but that's what I mean. Like this power tool side.
I think to answer your question, like, it's not really, as we've said, we really support the outdoor power equipment dealer, and it's not really the space they play. And there's so many competitors with Bunnings, with Mitre 10s, with tool sheds, and
The deals and-
TKDs. They're all big players in that space, and let's get real. Like, we want to bring the market the best product we can find in that professional commercial range. That's what we want to do. That's where we want to play. And even for the domestic user, we want to bring in a top tier domestic product. We don't really want to play down with that messy stuff down there. And when you're talking about power equipment,
So you're saying it doesn't exist in that?
well, so a single battery that fits a power tool, if that battery fits an outdoor power equipment, it's not the outdoor power equipment we want.
Okay.
You're talking about it's entry level, really cheap. You know, like, it's not where we want to play.
Yeah.
If you're talking about serious outdoor power equipment, it's a bigger battery because you want the run time, etc. And those bigger batteries don't fit tools.
Yeah.
So you're talking about a whole separate battery range with a different battery, and it's just not really the space we play. Now, I'm not saying never say never, but it's not something that we're concentrating on. We're looking at, where do we go next with a battery platform? What does that look like? You know, what is going to suit the market and what is going to suit us? Because we don't want to align ourselves with someone with a manufacturer that's not going to invest properly in the new technology as it evolves. So that's what we're going to do.
I think that's one of the exciting things following closely the Bushranger story, is because you never know what's coming next. Like, you guys throw out like a random Aussie-made chipper. It's like, oh, shit. All right. So there's stuff that's getting made here. Like, obviously, you guys have got the capacity to expand on that and maybe look into other lines that you can start punching out of Australia. And yeah, who knows? Like, it's cool.
Is RGS the biggest outdoor power equipment distributor in Australia?
The privately owned, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
there's-
Obviously,
There's-
you've got
a lot
the
of
conglomerates.
big companies there.
So, and are you talking about like a Toro, Stanley Black and Decker, those types of like global? Because they've got their distribution in house, right?
Yeah, but
Yeah,
we would
so-
be the largest private
Yeah,
company.
yeah.
They're all publics or
Yeah.
something like that. Yeah.
Well,
Awesome.
it's good to know, like, you guys are where the decisions kind of get made. So, you know, they would obviously have boards, but then they would have overseas input as well. So,
Definitely.
They would
and-
have a heavy finger, wouldn't
Yeah.
they?
And absolutely, and that's what I think. If you look at the products, and if you talk to Gravely, like the changes we've got going into the Gravely product now, from selling it for having 12 months experience with it, putting it in the market, looking at what works. We've just changed the decks completely on the HD series. So the HD
Great.
series is
I fucking love it when you guys do that.
it's not the discharge, so it's
No,
not,
it's
Okay.
not
it's
the
not
Alright,
the
all
discharge.
good,
But
all good.
So they've gone a 7-gauge deck from a
7-gauge
10. So they're a
decks.
thicker deck. They're really good commercial deck on that machine now.
I think that's a standard. 7-gauge is the standard
Yeah.
for
But
a commercial deck.
absolutely
now.
not on a fast track. Well, I shouldn't say fast track, but on that level machine down. So
Yeah.
you're talking Raptor XDX, fast track. You're talking like Spartan is 7-gauge right through.
Yeah.
But Toro, JD, all those guys in that space, in that price point, are all 10 or 11 gauge.
Oh, okay.
Except for
I know,
Spartan.
and Skag also.
Are they 7 all the way through?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Skag as well.
Skag and Spartan are 7 all the way through, but yeah, it's Graver's now
But
going on
does
those
Skag have a
ZTHD.
machine that compete with the XDX? I don't think they do. I thought that.
I'd say the Liberty would be or maybe the Patriot.
Sorry, what was the question?
Ben's just fucking dreaming of a dart.
yeah, he's absolutely losing it here. He's going to go to sleep shortly.
No, seriously, what was the question?
Is that so? In the Skag
XDX.
range, I know the top end of the Skag and the standards, obviously, but the Liberty Z. What's the drives on a Liberty Z? Do you know the drives?
I think the 3100s.
Nah, I think they're
Oh,
28s.
Are
are
they EZTs?
I think
Or are they ZT 2800s?
ZT 2800s, I'm
Yeah,
pretty
so it's
sure.
different. It's
Might
a
have to
different
double check, but I have
spec
a feeling.
altogether.
Oh, I thought they were 3100s.
So
They could be.
ZT 3100s would be a XDX sort of.
Yeah,
equivalent.
ZTHD.
Yeah, ZTHD. So that would compete with the Gravely ZTHD. But yeah, so that's going. But that change has happened because of feedback from us.
I don't think the Liberty would be. The Liberty is more of your Raptor XD.
Yeah, but it's sort of it's each manufacturer is
I think
trying to
specking
target.
Yeah, it's like
there's
different.
these
Like
little
they've got
pieces.
Yeah, there's just little highlights in every machine, and that's I think that would be the hardest thing about picking a machine like these days would be for a beginner would be like, fuck, how do you navigate this? But there's more content
I've-
than ever before. Like
Look,
when I
I've-
first started, I bought a fucking secondhand walker off a cherry farm, thinking this is going to be fucking awesome. I don't have to catch or anything like that.
Mate, I had an Arians. I had an
was
Arians like
fucked.
15 years ago that I fucking absolutely loved. It had the
Yeah,
black.
and-
It had the black deck, and it wasn't a. It was I reckon it was a fab deck, but it wasn't. Wasn't very heavy duty or anything.
I think the point Ben's making is, and a lot of people ask this question of us, but we spend the time. We've got a products team that spends and an R&D team that spends the time to look at the product. If it's a new product coming to market, we work with the supplier and we've done a lot of work, changed air filters, redesigned air filters, and all sorts of stuff on chainsaws to suit our market. Where if we took it off the shelf, it just wouldn't last. So we did the same with Excel Industries for years. As a family-owned business, we worked for years with those guys to make a product suitable for our market. And okay, it's changed now with our relationship with Hustler. Of course, everyone knows that's changed. But partly the reason why we wanted to partner with the Aaron's company. With Gravely and Aaron's product is they're a family-owned business.
So
Yeah.
how does Gravely specifically kind of respond to you guys? Because obviously this is early on. now. Like it's a relationship that's only is it 12 months old yet?
Yeah, it's 12 months.
absolutely.
October 12.
Yeah.
But like, how do they respond to market changes? You know, from Australia, from Australia.
But that's
like
the point I'm talking about. Is they originally they're going, who are you guys? Like, what the hell are you here to wait? We've been doing this for a long time,
Yeah.
and we've very quickly got to the point where we're going. Because our R&D team, our technical team is very good at if there's a problem in the market, and there's been a couple of issues that have now been resolved because our guys have gone, okay, here is the problem. This is what we think is a good solution. What do you guys think? And we're feeding that back to their engineers, and they're going, whoa, we've not seen that here in the US because we cut it 16 inches high. And there's things that happen in this country because we're so tough and rough on the machines because we're cutting so low that they've not seen before and they're seeing now and they're going, and because we're bringing a solution to the table, they're going, shit, these guys know what they're talking about. And they're respecting us for that and they're starting to make changes to the machine to make it better for our market. That's where we want to be.
Yeah.
It's been
I think like that working with Skag, I think that's been one of the things I've noticed that they're very receptive to, it's like constructive criticism, and it's not a bad thing. They just look into the issues that we bring up. So it's good that the Gravely Arians crew do the same thing.
Not the people that I work with. Here's me bloody sending a video back to Darwin Grip, and I'm like, this is stripped here, this is doing this, and I get this fucking video back from some redneck who's like, I don't know what you guys are doing over there, and I was just like, fuck you, I'll make my own. As soon as he said that, I was like, nah.
But
that
we've
is
had
the-
to navigate through that
Yeah.
so many times,
Yeah.
and the amount of times that we've gone back and in all seriousness, they just do not believe that you can even do what you're telling them to do, or that you're telling them we're experiencing issues that come up every single day. Dad often talks about they sent samples of fuel to the US for Shindaiwa because our fuel quality is so different to their fuel.
Is it better or
Worse,
It's
significantly
worse, is
worse.
it?
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
and to Oregon, Dad sent logs
of Australian timber?
of
That's
Australian
so
timber
cool.
Yeah,
to
that's
say,
awesome.
guys, like
Fuck, I bet customs love that.
that are experiencing correct. And it was a challenge, but
It would have been.
the same response that you're talking about, and they actually came back and said to Dad that that's not wood, that's concrete. Like,
Yeah.
you can't cut this stuff. Like these, and that's what we're trying to do, and that's what we bring. That's different to say someone that's here in their own right. You've got someone that goes out, they get a catalogue suite of products, they're just trying to sell it. We're here trying to get it right.
Yep.
And that's why it's so important to us that we get the feedback from you guys, but we also need to know it factually.
Yeah. Sidebar, there's a really sexy guy on TikTok who cuts logs with no shirt on. He's very handsome, and all the comments, he gets millions of people following him. All the comments are like chicks just like, fucking what? Anyway, he's got himself an Australian log. Fuck, it looked like it took him about 6 days to get through it. It was an Australian hardwood. I don't know exactly which one, but he's used to cutting American timber.
Yeah.
And he got this piece of Australian hardwood, and he was going and going and going. I thought he was
Probably just
about to
filled with
do
fucking sand or dirt or something.
yeah, like, well, I don't know. You guys look a lot fitter than me, but when you're a fat fuck like me and you get overexerted, you do like a little dry reach. You're like, I thought he was going to do that. I thought I was going to see this guy with a full ripped body just start just like dry reaching off to one side.
Well, anyway, guys, did you have anything else, Beej? I think I've had enough. I'm ready to wrap it up.
Wait, give me the flagship. What is the biggest product you guys have got right now? What do you think is like the number one?
Oh dear.
We've got
They
so
all
many
sit,
good products.
they all sit in their own space, and that's the problem.
Give me one.
Like, let's say, for example,
I have to say that the new 500, by Gravely,
It is doing
it
well.
is a great machine.
is that one with the super deep deck?
Well,
and-
that's
that's-
the Mach 1, which
Okay,
is the
yep.
500 chassis.
Yep. Okay.
And then you've just got the 500, the Proton 500 with the X Factor 3 deck.
I was pretty
that is a good
impressed
machine.
when
That
we
is
did
a
our
really
zero
good
turn
machine.
episode. That one kind of blew me away.
Yeah.
I didn't really do my research before looking through the specs and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously Kyle and them,
Yeah.
they gave it its props, which I think gives it credibility because they're using machines in that kind of space. So
Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
that's going to be a really good machine.
It
I
is
think,
good
in
to
the
have that
commercial
one
contract.
marquee.
Yeah.
Like,
Product.
probably the Superset or something like that was
Only
probably...
the SRT and the Spartan range, each of them have their own. Like that split
Yep.
rear axle,
Yep.
spoon drains and being able to move those wheels. Like I don't know if you
Yeah,
know that, but
SRT,
on the SRT Spartan, those rear axles actually can move.
Yeah,
Oh,
they're floating.
So you can have your right wheel out on that angle and this one's still straight.
Yeah.
So, going into those sort of
Yeah, I know what you
steeper
mean.
gradients, you're just
Yeah.
going to have that bit better traction.
Because
And
usually when you do a spoon drain, it's like some sort of sacrificial scalp somewhere.
that's exactly right.
It's like, and
Yeah.
you're just like, oh, here we go.
Trying to avoid snipping right in the middle. You're just like, nah, we'll be right. Then you
Nah,
don't
it's
realise it's rained a week earlier and that spoon drain does not drain at all. Then you're just like, oh no. And you just keep going.
And I think in the parts business between Kawasaki and the trimmer line, like
Yeah.
Diamond Edge, Trailblazer, Vortex, if you speak to how many contractors out there are using those products, it's impressive.
It's like, because I know, like, when I see just other spools out there, like, just, they're different colours. Like, one will be, like, clear with pink. And I sort of look at it and I'm just, it's funny, like, the ones that you guys have, they're kind of like those household, way, like, every contractor's using them. And you see these other ones and you're like, what the fuck is that?
Yeah, like
know.
the steel line, and it's got like a yellow core and fucking clear, and it's like an X. I'm like, whoa, okay.
Do you guys ever call the 3.3 Vortex? Do you guys ever call that BBC trimmer line?
It's the thickest, craziest line.
I remember I
It's
used to
just-
always say,
But-
I used to say to
we've-
Russ, like,
there's a
get the
4 mil
BBC out.
Yeah.
But
That's
we
the
have done
Yeah.
we
That's
have
a
done
Mandingo
a lot
line.
of tests. We've done a lot of hours of testing on a whole heap of trimmer line, and look, I know there's a lot of contractors. As Ben said, there is a lot of contractors that use those lines, but what we can attest, because we want to make sure it's the best line, and we feed this back to the USA because that's a USA made product. All of those lines that Ben's talking about,
I
Vortex, Diamond.
didn't know that.
Yeah.
I thought it was China stuff.
No,
No,
it's all
all
American made,
American made.
and
Fucking hell.
it is
it
the
Desert
it
Eagle?
is the best product. It is
It's
the best
Desert
Eagle, isn't it?
extrusion.
Desert extrusion. I knew it was
desert
something.
extrusion. Yeah.
Yeah.
On a personal note, if I see you guys next year at the GIE, I'm hoping to get to go again. Can we party?
Yeah,
Because
can party.
we got to have one beer. I don't even know if it's
No, Ben didn't even show
I
up.
just
He was
fucking
too
hang out
busy
with-
going out with Briggs guys or something. So I came and had a beer with you. Remember?
yeah, that was good. And then I,
I
had
think
to
that was the Kawasaki night, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. I think.
yeah, and
If
I
you're
ended up
lucky, we
hanging
might
out.
get you into the Kawasaki
That'd
party.
be good. I heard that is the best party.
It is one of the better
I ended
ones.
up with the Vanguard boys, and yeah, I ended up fucking taking shots out of syringes, and it was bad. I ended up, so we were in the ghetto, like piss central. Like there was someone pissed outside the elevator. I got off at the wrong floor. This is like a full project. Like all you could get, you smell weed as soon as you open up the door.
Oh, wow.
And I was trying to get into the wrong room. I was on the wrong fucking floor, and I just followed me, me senses, and yeah, because Scotty Osborne and Rob. Fucking, I went for a shit and they disappeared on me. they snuck into another party, and I think they snuck into the cola party, and I come out looking around, and I was like, what the fuck do I do? I'm in Louisville.
No, you were there by
and I was
yourself,
just
I
like, I wonder where Paul is. I wonder where Rob is. No one would answer their phone. I'm just surrounded by all these Americans, and I was already half cut then. And then I saw one of the Vanguard boys. I was like, I'm fucking coming with you. And I just stuck to these guys. I don't know if they'll ever do that again.
I
It was
remember
bad.
you were standing at a certain stand there, and I was standing right behind you, like right up in your personal space, and you were feigning interest for a long time on that stand. Do you remember this?
I know.
Yeah, and I was standing right up behind him, and the person you were talking, I won't mention who it is, but he's looking at me going, what the freaking hell are you doing? I'm just standing behind him. I touched him. It's like, oh shit, yeah, it was pretty funny.
was
pretty funny.
Fuck, that's
You must have thought, what the hell is this guy doing?
Yeah. I was like, oh God, one of those weird Americans going to touch me on the bum or something.
For
But no,
ages. I must have been standing there for 10 minutes right up behind you.
if that was the second day, then I was fucking. That's the most hungover I've ever been out in public. I actually went.
Come on, Beach. That's a big statement.
Mate.
He was
I'm
bad.
telling you, I was
He was
fucked.
bad.
I said, oh, Rob and Scotty went to the Skag stand to go and talk to them, and I fucking sat in the toilet for about 20 minutes just listening to people taking shits, and I was just like up against the wall, just like I've done something to myself here. And then I came out and I fucking sat down, ate this big triangle of just the greasiest pizza. I'm walking around eating quickies or Tums or whatever the fuck they have in America. I'm just like, help me, having Imodium, stop shit. I was fucked. I don't know what I did to myself, what was in those shots they were selling, but
The syringes, yeah.
oh man, but no, it was really good. It's amazing, like it's an eye opener, and to see. So obviously you guys have seen the background of all the Graveleys and all that sort of stuff, like in there where they're manufacturing. But yeah, seeing the production lines and how efficient they are, and the paint lines are crazy. It's like literally just like model sets up on racks, and they cruise through and come out. Yeah, but no, definitely, I'd love to try the Kawasaki party. Maybe I'll be a bit more reserved and.
Yeah, because Kawasaki are very reserved.
They
so
are very
so
reserved.
there's
But it
no
is a big
syringe
party.
shots at the Kawasaki party, but
Well,
it is fun.
There is when BJ comes to town. I'll just fucking
Worth
lift
getting
up my
into the
shirt.
Vanguard one.
All right, guys. Well, thank you
Yeah,
so
thanks
much
so much,
for
guys.
No, it was awesome.
letting us come into your facility today to do this episode. It's been great for all the listeners to get a little bit of insight and a little bit of backstory and all the above. So that's really good. Thank you very
Yeah,
much.
you guys have got to start prepping for your Christmas party.
Yep, we've got that very shortly. We've got that this afternoon, so all of our staff are pretty excited. And
The Catch Pro one's just me on my laptop, maybe on
I've
XNXX.
seen on the LMCA page all these Christmas parties for sole traders. It's
Yeah.
pretty funny.
Oh.
People just standing there.
I tried to get a team photo.
Escobar, Escobar.
Oh,
I saw.
yeah.
They taxed that from Catch Pro last year.
I tried to do a team photo, and of course, fucking Rusty was 3 hours late. So
Fucking Rusty.
So now I've got this photo that I have to send to the village that he works at. And
Just a little cropped in
He's
one?
not in it. Yeah, I was thinking about like just fucking putting him in the background or something.
I do have a
so-
question for you, BJ.
Yeah.
You did put a post up this week of you doing some hedging on a waterway.
Oh yeah,
And I did see there was a little bit of debris in the water. I'm just wondering.
pool scoop, mate.
Oh, is that how you got it?
I did have my bikini in the car, but yeah, there was some people putting up Christmas lights. I didn't want to disturb them. It's a very nice suburb. And
I did think you were a little overdressed for what you were
well,
doing.
next time, there's always a next time. Reoccurring work and such.
Damn,
I
I'd
mean,
hate to
that's-
see that bikini after that.
You should see the
fuck.
mankini. Fuck me.
Be
It's,
like rape scene.
yeah. Editing.
All right, guys.
Right.
By the way, is this our last episode?
This
for the
is our
year?
last episode for the year.
BJ's
I'm
going
off on
for
a
a cruise.
15 drinks a day, cocktails galore. Maybe you'll get to see a bit more than you we're expecting on the cruise, Ben. I'll just private message you a few sneaky photos.
Well,
I
Ben going
normally
on the
do-
cruise with you.
No,
okay.
no. I'll send him back a good selection. I normally do nudes everywhere I go. I didn't
Yeah,
get a
fair
chance in Melbourne. I went to Melbourne a
You
couple of
can't
weeks
send
ago.
them to me anymore now because my girls use my phone too much and they can't see it.
Yeah, I've been caught out a few times.
All right, well, you guys have a good Christmas. Thanks for coming here today. To all the contractors listening, best of luck for the season, and I hope it goes well. And thanks to you guys for your ongoing support. And for those contractors that support Bushranger or Gravely or any of our other brands, thank you so much. It's really appreciated.
Awesome. All right.
Cool.
Until then, I'm at Catch Pro. He's at TBL, and we're out of time.
Fuck yeah.
Merry New Year.
See ya.
That's a wrap, blokes.
Oh, fuck yeah.